Artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence. That's all I hear today. It's not something that we dream about. It's not a pipe dream anymore. It's here today. It's exciting. It's changing everything. It's changing cybersecurity for the better. And here's what we need to ask ourselves. How do we use AI in cyber, but specifically, how do we use AI in the SOC? That's one of the biggest areas that AI could help us. And we're gonna go through all of that today. We're gonna talk about, can we trust the tools? How do we validate it? And we have an amazing guest. So without further ado, run the intro.
Who says tech can't be human?
What's going on, Hacker Valley fam? Welcome back to the show. I am so excited to jump into this live stream. This live stream was actually supposed to happen already, but the technical gods weren't in our favor. It was so unfortunate, but we have a second opportunity. It's all about second opportunities. And I think AI gives us second opportunities in the world of cybersecurity because they give us a little bit of time back to talk about the current state of AI in the SOC. I have a great guest with me. My guest for this episode is Roy Halevi, co-founder and CTO of Intezer. Roy, you've been on the show for a few minutes in the past, but most importantly, welcome back to the show.
Wow, thank you, Ron. Very happy to be here. Very happy to talk about this subject, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us. So let's jump right in. For anyone that doesn't know, Intezer, we've been kind of partnering together for a bit. You all were kind enough to sponsor the episode. So big shout outs to Intezer. If you haven't done so already, be sure to follow Intezer, but also our special guest, Roy. So let's go ahead and start it off. I'm here from Austin, Texas. It's finally cooling down. Roy's joining from Tel Aviv, Israel, which, I mean, there's one of the best cities. But Roy, let's start with Intezer. When I was first learning about the company or reaching out to the team, I was like, what does the name mean? What was the inspiration behind, such a name? So let's start there.
Wow, you're taking me back. I think it was like, first of all, it's a bit random. Like there's not a lot of thinking behind the name. But I think that the nuance that my partner Itai, the other co-founder, and myself thought to ourselves, the base technology that we started the company with was around analyzing code and understanding software and trying to figure out if it's bad or good. So we just took like the first line of code that every programmer will write, which is int I equals 0. And we combine it into Intezer. And this was like for us, like a hint for us. I know everybody that check the name doesn't think about it. And people had like a lot of thinking about what does it mean. I even heard someone say that it's like integrity for zero-day attacks and stuff like that. But no, the truth is that was like one session, we came up with a few names. We like this one. The domain was free, so here we are.
It's hard finding a .com these days. It's so hard. There was also some news that we were going to jump into on our last session, the funding round. I think funding is so important. It shows the dedication by investors. It shows the dedication by the customers that you've acquired and the future of acquiring new ones. So tell us a little bit about the numbers that were passed your way and what you plan to do with them.
I couldn't be more excited about this funding round. Partnering with Norwest is like, it's great. It's like I'm so humbled to be in that position. Also, we had a round where all the existing investors participated. So this for me means that we're definitely having the right partners that believe in our mission and the company. And the thing that excites me the most about this round is that when you look at the fundamentals of the company today, when you look at the demand for what we're building, and when you look at the customer feedback and satisfaction, I think this is what makes me believe that this is the right time for us to scale the operation and scale our services and be able to serve more clients because this is like the sweet spot. I feel like we have the right product for the right problem, and also we have like great partners, great customers that supports that. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. And regarding your questions about what we plan to do with the fund, so we plan to first of all make sure that we are building the right product and that we are delivering on that promise that we are working towards. I think I'm very happy with what we have today with the product, but I also think that there's a huge way forward and we can provide so much more value. So I'm truly excited about the investments we're planning to do on the R&D area, whether if it's research, product, and engineering. So this is my part of the company.
I wanted to also, talk about the SOC. That's why we're really here, AI and the SOC. And that's one of your core areas of expertise. For someone that is working in the SOC, there's typical like battle cards that you use to describe, ideal customer profile. What are those demographics of people in the SOC that you're constantly, speaking to? What are their situations and their circumstances?
Wow. They always like teach you in the books about like a certain structure of a SOC, a tiered SOC, and so on. I think that when you go out there and speak with SOC teams, you see so much. Like every organization is different. Um, my background, I worked in the SOC and incident response, defensive cybersecurity in general, in the Israeli military. So I saw like how to defend a huge organization. And it was very focused on detecting state-sponsored attacks. Like this was the number one goal that we had. And then I was exposed to how things are happening in like a big enterprise, a US enterprise, and how things are happening in like medium organizations and between different sectors like financials or telecommunications or pharmaceutical. People have different concerns. So everything is structured to be different. And today we work huge organizations that protect their own environments to MSSPs that sometimes serve hundreds of clients with our technology. So this, like the range and the spectrum is so different. It's very hard to describe it in one way, but I think everybody in the end of the day have like this goal of making sure that the business is running smoothly, that we protect customer data, that we protect the integrity and the privacy of the data. So I think this is what everybody has in mind. Try to build around it, but everybody have like a different implementation.
When I had my closest involvement with the SOC, I was a cyber fusion analyst and I worked at Intel Corporation. My job was to pretty much take all of our signals, all of the intelligence, internal, external, and supply that to the SOC so they, could triage information, create alerting. And one thing that I realized is I would flood them, and I enjoyed it. I think people that run vulnerability management programs, they love flooding IT and the SOC. Um, and I know I shouldn't do that, but I did. What are the challenges today that you think that the members in the SOC are constantly facing? Whether it's too much data, too little, where are people focused at?
At the fundamental level, the problem is that our challenge as a defender is just increasing. So we have more attack surfaces. Like we don't just need to protect like machine and our private network. We now have cloud and identities and SaaS and browsing activity and working from home. And like there's like the attack surface is huge, and it keep expanding. The technologies that we have around us, the technology stack, is completely different and continuously evolving. But the SOC is expected to protect,
Mhm.
the old stuff, right? Like the legacy stuff, as well as the new stuff. So the challenge is like, and by the way, every month, every year, it's just like keep expanding and expanding, and there's more and more and more to protect. So the noise, the number of alerts, number of events that we want to track, the amount of areas that we need to build expertise in, it's something like really extremely challenging. And when you look at it from a perspective of someone that also want to keep increasing and becoming better at detecting threats and becoming better in protecting them, every change that you make that helps you protect
Yeah.
also creates work and create workload. So like this is like a balance that it's very hard to maintain over time. And I think this is why the SOC is such a great place to make changes, to utilize new technologies.
Speaking of new technologies, there was this one time when I worked at a fintech startup. I was doing some base 64 encoding and decoding. You know, a lot of tools that you use. You'll see like a string. You're like, is this a base 64 string? So I would use Python to convert the base 64 to human readable text. And I saw some of my team members were using online services. Like they were going to like base64decode.org. And I was like, holy crap, that's a little dangerous.
Plus,
But automation is so important. Automation, getting the job done, this helps you. Like, like I don't know how you can convert it by hand. You got to use something. If you don't have a tool like Python or you don't know how to use it, then you have to go online. And I think that's kind of where we're at with AI as well. Like a lot of people in security are using AI to help them do analysis, but people that aren't in security, they're using AI to just help them do their job. And all the information that we put in these tools are very, it's always a risk. I'm curious though, is the risk the information that we put in, or is it the accuracy of the output?
I think it's both. Like, absolutely, I think people are in the SOC in cybersecurity, but in any other field, are using AI tools unsecurely in a way that harms their own business privacy, their customer data, and so on. So, like keeping stuff yeah, in the right way and having the right guidelines of how to use the AI and approve your AI tools and so on. I think this is like very important. But when you look also on the use case of how we use AI for cybersecurity, I think there's like this additional challenge when you talk about accuracy. Like if I'm using AI to help me draft an email and I review it as I send it, like what's the risk here if it's get it wrong? Like who needs to test it? Like it's kind of like just helping me do this part. And if I'm using like the AI to advise me on this and advise me on that, this is one thing. But when you really want to shift gear and start looking at AI as like someone that provides you with a certain service, like I'm going to help you, like what we try to do, triage alerts, and I'm going to say if this is an alert that you should look into or an alert that I'm going to close automatically, then there's there's a risk here of AI getting it wrong. And how do you build a system that you can actually trust and that you can verify the accuracy of? And I think this is extremely hard. Like we use ML in cybersecurity for years. Like it's not something new, but I think the amount of AI and the new capabilities coming with AI, I think like this is just really increases in the past year or two. So I think that's another big challenge.
My favorite use case at the moment is all the things that you could do for getting feedback. A lot of times we only get feedback once a year in our yearly reviews for our job, or whenever we get in trouble, we get that feedback. But for what I like to use AI when it comes to feedback is taking my meeting transcripts. Everyone uses Otter, Fathom, or built-in tools in Zoom and Teams. Take those meeting transcripts and ask very pointed questions. What are the areas that I can improve in? What areas of my pitch were unclear? We're constantly asking for more budget. So I like to use it for getting feedback on, hey, is my message, resonating with the audience? But, since I'm not necessarily hands-on keyboard all the time from a cybersecurity perspective, I feel like my use cases might be a very narrow, general. So what are the use cases that, are really standing out to you that are providing some impact?
Yeah. So the way I see it, first of all, I love your use case, like the fact that you have someone, reviewing yourself, giving you like an advice, and you can also, tell it like
Mhm.
what what to pay attention to. Like, so I really like it, and I also use it like on the day to day. when I'm looking at more of like the organizational level, SOC level, and where I see AI really helping. So I think when it comes to triaging alerts, this is definitely the biggest opportunity that we have. So when I'm saying triaging alerts, I mean at the first step after a detection system was firing an alert, the first thing that you would do to determine if this is something that needs to be escalated for someone to review it right now, even if it's like in the middle of the night, or this is like something that can maybe wait for later, or something that it's probably not requiring any attention and you should just close it or automatically handle it. And so I think for me, like this is the most exciting opportunity to use AI in the SOC. But I also think there are a few other areas that can be a bit helpful. So areas where you
Mhm.
should like write queries, write scripts, like this is a game changer, especially when you need to go through different tools. Each of them sometimes have like a different language. So I see also analysts like benefiting on this part. So this is like having like a senior person next to you that like is an expert in this tech and just help you do the things the right way. So I think this is also really nice.
Yeah, I love that. Especially for creating queries. What I like to do, I use Supabase. It's Postgres SQL, and I'm not an expert in writing the SQL queries. Never have been, and I've used AI to put a lot of the data into this database. But what I do is I use AI to provide the output as well. My SQL queries. I add in all of my tables into my prompt, and then I say, hey, based off of my tables, write me a query that will find this top 10 information for me. And that's been so helpful. And when I've spoken to some of SOC engineers, CISOs about how they're using AI, a lot of times I hear, "Oh, I'm not using AI. I'm exploring it, or I'm trying to get my team to use it better, or give them an opportunity to use it." So, when it comes to the SOC, what would you say is the current state of AI?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we're now working with different companies, different partners that are in different place in this adoption stage. So we have clients that already we have Intezer running our AI in production for the past year and a half. So we have customers that doing this like right in production, like already things are getting escalated based on AI. Things are getting automatically closed, automatically resolved using AI for the past year and a half. So, this is one end of the spectrum. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have people approaching us like, I understand that there's something here that I can really benefit from. All the problems that you are describing are stuff that we are handling on a day to day. I'm exploring how should I approach it for 2025. And what is the first step? So there's this part of people looking into it, but I think across the board, like people like using it for these tiny tasks, like help with scripts, help with writing queries, helping with even writing emails, writing an incident report, and so on. I think uh, this is like really common today. I don't think there's. I think most SOC analysts today and IR analysts are using some sort of a chatbot or an AI tool to consult.
Oh, most. That's good to know. That's good to know. I think, maybe there could also be a sensitivity in just telling me how you're using AI, because I think that it could feel a little dirty, like I'm using AI to, analyze my security data. It's supposed to be my job, but I'm using AI for it. I think it's great. And it sounds like you've been on this journey for a while. Like you've already been implementing it, seeing the promise and the results. How are you all, I guess, helping customers with it? You mentioned that you all are already helping customers close out the cases, but how does that work?
Yeah. So first of all, and I think that maybe this is like my opinion, but you mentioned like maybe if I'm telling someone that I'm using AI to do my job, like this is a bad thing. But I think it's like it's what I expect. Like if an engineer that needs to build a system and need to write code doesn't use AI, like I think it's a problem. Like you can be better, you can be faster, you can be more accurate, you can have a clearer code and a simpler code. And I think the same goes with cybersecurity. Like I think if a SOC, like let's say a year from now, 2 years from now doesn't utilize AI at all, I think it's a problem. Like there's a big opportunity here. You can do your job much better. So I think it's actually like a good thing. Like, oh, I'm using AI, and I don't think it's in a way where it like really replaces, because there's such a shortage in people working in security and in SOC specifically, that I don't think we're never going to hit like, oh, there's enough SOC analysts here. Let's use AI. I think it's just coming as a tool to help with this task. So I hope that makes sense.
It does, it does. And someone actually said that their favorite use case is writing emails for guidance and also for learning. I think that this is kind of going to that point that you were just making. It's good to use AI to do parts of your job. If AI could teach you, let it teach you. Let it, instruct you, show you the ropes. That's how I use it a lot. There's this new tool called Cursor that recently came out a few months ago, and it's amazing. And I'm sure probably some of your team uses it.
We're just like experimenting with it. We are like using a GitHub Copilot, but yeah, this is definitely like, I don't know, jaw dropping kind of a tool, but definitely something.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know about Cursor, it will write code for you. And just like GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT in general, it does a good job at writing the code, but it will also save the files to your hard drive. So this is, I guess, like essential, like an equivalent to AI closing out your cases for you. Like, how magical would that be if you could trust it to close out your cases, and it did a pretty good job?
Yeah.
When it comes to stuff like that, though, what cases are the best ones to start with for using AI to as a candidate for auto investigation or even auto closing?
A very important thing here is that you cannot just let AI like just throw alert, tell me if it's good or bad. Like this won't work. You need to be able to utilize the tool sets and the data that you have around you, that you have accessible to you, just like an analyst would approach an incident. So the way that we look at this process at Intezer is that we split it into different stages. So at first, I need to connect to the detection tool. I need to receive the alert. I need to parse it properly, right? Not miss any important data there. Then I need to go through evidence collection. So actually utilizing different APIs of different systems to acquire a suspicious file, to acquire data existing in external systems, to enrich the information about who is this user or what is this device, and maybe look into historical data. So collect all of this evidence, and then we run like a list of engines, which is a combination of AI engines, but also some not AI agents, engines that we use for file scanning, reputation, network, cloud, a lot of stuff that we are running there. And then we are making the decision after like this entire process. And of course, in the decision, we incorporate AI because this is something that can have the ability to understand the context of this alert. And once we made like the verdict, we build a response plan and suggest the automated actions. And in the advanced cases, take the automated action. So I hope like that you were that everybody was able to cut up with me through the entire process. But yeah, when we split it into stages and we apply like AI in different stages, but also look at it as an holistic process, this is how we see it, and this is where we see that can be really.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen the same thing as well, allowing it to serve you and give you those recommendations. I love the fact that you will build a plan. I think that is what makes the output helpful. I brought up meeting summaries earlier, and I think with a meeting summary, it
Of
is a little
course.
bit of a guide. It's a guide that has the agenda, those topics, and then a great meeting assistant is going to have those action items for you as well. Here's the things that you should do right after you hang up here. And I think if you have that as an instant responder, it's one thing if it does the job for you, but then, you could still go into manual mode where necessary and, be that human in the loop.
Exactly. Exactly. And the way that we try to approach it is that we want the output always to be something that is easily for a program to understand or for a program to act on. So when you structure it in a way, you can then go and decide how you want to take action. Sometimes we want to just do things automatically. Like every time I see this alert, just do this, take this action. And sometimes you want to have a human in the loop. And sometimes you just want to have it as a recommendation, and an analyst will take a look and will decide if they want to do it or not. So yeah, I think that structuring it in a way where you can act on it and you can apply automation, but you can also have the transparency with the user to explain. I think like this is the right balance.
So let's talk about, you know, AI from a technology company. There was someone, his name is Charles Kilvington. He's one of our team members at Hacker Valley. He said, you know, it's confusing. A lot of tech companies are now all of a sudden AI companies because they use ChatGPT. So doesn't that make every company an AI company? What are your thoughts? What makes a company, you know, use AI versus an AI, you know, focused organization?
Yeah. So it's like the way that I'm looking at it, because of course everybody will try to to jump on the next buzzword today and to get some likes and to get
Yeah.
some leads. And so the way that I'm thinking about what we are trying to produce at Intezer, and like this is just my way of thinking about it, is that we try to provide uh, what you would get from a service. So when we look at 24 by 7 SOC that you have, like tier 1 SOC, 24 by 7 tier 1 SOC, you would get like the complete service. Like they will monitor your alerts. They will give you a call or email you when something bad happens. They will help you tune your alerts, your detections to make sure that you would get reports when you need it. When you want to approach someone, or when you're unsatisfied, you will let them know. So there's like a bunch of services that surrounding the main service of 24 by 7 tier 1 SOC. So the way that I'm looking at what we're building at Intezer is that it's not just a software or a tool. Like we're trying to deliver the entire service of tier 1 SOC, whatever it makes. And this is powered by AI. But not just by AI. Like there's multiple technologies we're using behind the scenes to ensure that we're providing it. But I can say for sure that without AI, it wouldn't be possible to deliver such service. Like this is something that without the breakthrough that we had in AI in the past few years, we wouldn't be able to deliver such service as we do today. So for me, this is the way that I'm scoping it.
I have to jump in for a second to share some details about our sponsor for this episode, Intezer. Alert triage and investigations are time consuming, but it doesn't have to be that way. Smart security teams are using AI to automatically investigate alerts from their security tools 24 by 7 with an average time of just 2 minutes. So how does it work? Intezer is an innovative platform that emulates the alert investigation process of human analysts. They do so by integrating with your security tools to monitor alerts, collect evidence, and investigate every artifact. When Intezer uncovers evidence of a serious threat, they escalate the findings to your SOC analysts. Intezer investigates every alert, even the low severity and informational ones. It correlates them and automatically resolves over 90% of false positives. In addition to reducing all of this noise, this means you aren't wasting your time on false alarms and you have actionable recommendations for the serious threats that are in front of your team. Intezer extends your security team by emulating an experienced SOC analyst with an AI framework backed by years of industry experience. You can learn more about Intezer by going to intezer.com and let them know Hacker Valley sent you. Thank you, Intezer, for sponsoring this episode. Let's talk about some of those successes. Like you already kind of jumped into it a little bit, but you know,
Yeah.
what's that play by play? You know, someone just so happened to be in the market for Intezer and they sign up, they subscribe, they pay for it. How do they use AI? Like what is that workflow?
Yeah. So in the end of the day, the way that uh, we're trying to build it is really to look like how you would use a service that does the same work for you. So let's say that either you have in your own organization a tier 1 SOC, or you even decide to pay for an external tier 1 SOC. How would that service look like? And this is how you work with Intezer. So when you onboard Intezer, you get your tenant. you connect your tools so they can ingest the alerts, and you connect your like the response actions. Like that can be something trivial from like send me an email when something is escalated, or open a ticket, or enrich a ticket. But they can be stuff that can be more advanced, like close tickets automatically, or take a response action like blocking some malicious activity. So this is the way that the onboarding works. Like you connect it with the tools, and you decide how you want to get the data out. And of course, you have the dashboard at Intezer where you can see everything and all the alerts that we digested, and how this how is the results look like. But the idea here is that we want to influence your existing workflow. So if you use today, like you have your detection tools, and then you have your SIEM, and then you manage all your tickets in Jira, we want Intezer to sit there, like have all the detections, and then apply to your Jira tickets to enrich it. So this is the way that we look at it, just like you would expect from a great service that provides you tier one analysis, 24/7 tier one analysis. So this is, I would say, one part of like connecting it with your tool, making sure that it influences like the tickets and so on. And the other part is that we want to ensure you that you get results that you can trust and that they are accurate. So behind the scenes, Intezer also we look at the alerts that we are ingesting and the results that we're providing, kind of like a factory with a production line. So we grab some of these escalations for manual review, and some of the items that we close as false positive for manual review. And we took like these parts of the data that we process for manual review, and then we're able to provide you with like stats and KPIs on the accuracy that you're getting. And in case you see something that you think should act differently, you just report it, and then the system can learn from that. So there's the entire feedback loop part also with working with Intezer. So you're not just getting the results, you also have like this way to improve over time, which I think it's a huge benefit of using like a tech-based service
I'm glad that you mentioned
like
that,
that.
like looking at it like a service, because I think that is a good perspective. I was just speaking with a security researcher named Daniel Miesler at SANS Network Security this year, and he said that one of his predictions is managed service providers are going to really cling on to AI, because if you can, work with companies like Intezer and be that managed service, then if you have other products that you're leveraging as the MSP, then there's possibilities become very vast.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have wonderful MSSP partners, like really wonderful. And we see the impact that it makes on their
Mhm.
business and on their clients. So being able to onboard system like detection system that they didn't support yet. Like we had one very large MSSP. The people were like experts in one EDR tool, like in CrowdStrike. But now they have this client that's using Defender for Endpoint and another one using SentinelOne. Uh, and then they're able with Intezer to onboard all these new clients. So to support like other areas that of the business they couldn't. But there's also like the on the most basic level to get more clients, you need to get more analysts, and this is like extremely hard. This to and to keep the high quality with a large amount of analysts, it's very hard. So we see ourselves as being very helpful for these MSSPs and partnering with them. So yeah, definitely, I think that they see the value really quickly, and we're very happy to have these partnerships.
When experimenting with any tech, especially with AI, because it's like, some of your closest friends, you ask it a question, it doesn't know the answer, it just starts making stuff up. But you don't know when it's doing that, though. What have been some of those lessons learned where maybe AI is going to help with this, specific facet of security in the SOC, but not quite there yet?
Of course, there's especially in cybersecurity when the other side try to trick you, right? Like let's take phishing emails for example, and suspicious email. Like you every week we see new technique being adopted by the attackers to trick like the email security tools. Like it's especially in this area, there's no silver bullet. I think like we can acknowledge there's no silver bullet, and it's not possible. You will always miss some things. And the way that I'm thinking of it is that, first of all, we need to bake it into the AI. So the AI should be able to say, I'm not sure here. Like, I want someone to review it. And if it happens like 90% of the times, then it's like really, it's not useful. But if it just happened like 10% of the time, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And we can all say that we saw alerts and we saw incidents that it's just like, you look at it and
Mhm.
it's just clear. Oh, this is phishing. Oh, that's clear. This is bad. So these are the stuff, like this intuitive stuff. This is the stuff that AI is just doing great, because what's intuitive for us, it's also intuitive for it. But I think this is also why we don't just use AI. Well, we use a lot of tools that can provide us with quality analysis towards suspicious file and towards even memory, and to analyze logs and to look for indicators and to utilize threat intelligence and reputation databases and all of this stuff, so we can build more accurate results. And last thing about this subject is that we also need to think about the alternative. I can tell you, Ron, when we started with this service, we call it autonomous SOC, it's AI powered SOC. When we started with this service, I was extremely nervous. I felt like I'm promising something that is just like how am I going to stand behind it? But I think that once we put it into production in real environments, and when people look at it compared to the alternative, I think this is where it got to me that this is something revolutionary. Because the alternative today for tier one SOC is so bad, is either things are getting delayed days, like to for you to getting things detected, all the quality is really poor, or there's a lot of mistake. And then when you look at like what technology can do for tier one versus what the alternative, I think this is when it becomes clear that like this is
Mhm.
a helpful. So I'm not saying it's a silver bullet, definitely not. The AI should be able to say, I'm not sure. I want someone to look into this one. And also we should look at it not just based on like 100% accuracy. We should look
Right.
at it compared to the alternative.
You said tier one quite a few times, and I think that is like definitely one of those key clues that hopefully the audience is picking up on. Tier one might be a great place to start. It's really, the most introductory part of the SOC, and it's probably the parts where your, domain experts know the most on is that tier one process, maybe case formatting, taking in, doing some basic enrichment. But, with tier one in mind, would you say that that's one of you all's bread and butter is, augmenting some of that tier one capability?
Yeah, so ideally, we want to be able to completely remove a 24 by 7 T1 with technology. So ideally, we want to have your analyst free up to do stuff that are extremely meaningful, that can dramatically reduce risk. And those are dealing with the escalations, dealing with detection engineering, and looking at your environment and your risks in a holistic way, and not triaging alerts by alerts. So the way that I'm looking at it is that, yeah, I think that this is something that when we look at the future of SOC and the nature of SOC, this is something that is just not sustainable. Like, we cannot really do it over time. So yeah, I think that we're in a position to completely replace it and change the way that SOC
I feel like we're still gonna try to grind it out though.
work.
That's that's typically where we start. Like, let's just go and work on this all day. We'll just look at everything by hand and let it come.
Um, we can take some inspiration from other fields. Like, there's a lot of teams today that supporting mission critical systems. Intezer included. Our system we consider is mission critical, right? If it's down, it's bad. Like someone not triaging their alerts, and maybe there's an important incidents that they're missing. But we're a mission critical system, and a lot of companies and a lot of teams are building mission critical systems, and most of them do not have 24 by 7 shift to monitor production and make sure that production is up. Most of them have automation that tests stuff, that checks the quality, that runs tests, And in case something looks bad, an on-call person would get a pager duty or whatever, a phone call, even if it's in the middle of the night, so they can wake up and handle this. And this is something that, it shouldn't happen like 5 times a night. It should happen like 5, 10 times a year or depending on the complexity. But I think that we in cybersecurity, in defensive cybersecurity, can take inspiration from it. Like we can go to sleep at night and get a pager duty if there's a concern of a real attack putting at risk our organization right now. So I think this is something that it's possible to implement, and we have it like right next to us in the door next to us in the software engineering and SREs.
Since AI is helping, especially like in the software engineering route, I think that we're still opening up the world of possibilities and security. I can see a future where the role of the developer is fundamentally different. Like it's not what it used to be. And I can see that same for security looking into the future. Tier one, tier two, these were the jobs that I wanted only to break into the field. I didn't want them for longevity because I don't
Yeah,
have an incident
yeah,
responder's heart. I got the mind, but I don't have the heart because like you said, late night pager duties. Those worry me.
yeah.
Is there ever going to be a situation you think where it's going to be necessary or appropriate to fundamentally remove a good amount of roles in the SOC?
I don't see it. To be completely honest, I think that the amount of technology adoption that we see over the past decade and the amount of technology adopters that we're going to see in the next decade, just like the amount of security and the emergencies that require human attention, yeah, I don't see it going down. I just see it going one direction and it's going up. And I'm sure that we won't be in a situation where we can really reduce the amount of people working on security, especially when technology keeps getting more advanced and
Yep.
more advanced, and the technology stack keeps changing. So at least the way I'm seeing it, it's not in the right future. However, the nature of the role is going to be completely different. Like there's a lot of tasks, a lot of parts of our role today that can be changed completely. Just like you said about developer, like developer in 5 years from now will not look like a developer today. And the people that will continue to work as they were 5 years ago will probably won't have a job in
Hmm.
5 years if they don't adopt. So that's the way.
What do you see as the future? What does the future look like? If we're not getting rid of or eliminating roles or consolidating them, I guess what are your predictions?
I think that the focus here is to build an efficient SOC. So the way that I'm seeing it, you want to be able to build a SOC where it's easy to onboard new systems to the organization and protect them right away. That you can focus on really responding to emergencies and doing detection engineering to identifying new stuff, doing threat hunt, learning about new threats, about technologies and how to deal with them. So I think it's more about like how we build an efficient SOC that really serves the most important purpose of a SOC, protecting the organization, but it must be like extremely efficient to really handle all the
Right.
challenges that coming towards us.
What about Intezer? You have 33 million reasons to, change the world. What's next for you all?
The where the product is and where the technology is today, it's extremely exciting times because I think we feel and we see and we get the feedback that it does the job. Like we are there. Like this is actually working. Uh, but on the other end, I also see a lot of ways for the technology to be better and to serve, to provide more value and be better. Yeah, I think when it comes to surfaces and the way that we support different types of alerts, I think that we started from like handling endpoint alerts and then email and phishing alerts and reported phishing and then network. And right now we're shipping for identity alerts and for cloud alerts. which is like super exciting. And for me, I see it as a way for Intezer to be in this place where every type of alerts, custom alerts that you have in your own organization, whatnot, everything can go easily through your Intezer instance and get triaged automatically. So this is one thing. And the other thing is the depth of the analysis. I think there's so much depth that we can go into. And we mentioned like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. When you really think about what we're trying to build, it's not just the stuff that you would do in tier 1. It's everything that you would do across these chains, like activating all these tools and making sure that we're doing anything from basic log search to memory forensics on the suspicious machines.
For anyone that has a mission, or even if they don't, personal mission, reason why they show up to work every day, providing value is the fuel behind it. Whether you have one that's specific or you just go to work and make money and provide for your family, providing value, I think, is what is that energy that helps you show up the next day with that same level of excitement and all of that.
Absolutely. I couldn't
So if you had to
agree
give
more.
someone advice, let's say they're tier 2, tier 3 SOC, and they're interested in introducing AI, what would be your advice for them for getting started?
So if someone comes to call with me and ask me about that in the context of how Inster can help them with that, I think that the first step that I would do with a new client is just say, okay, let's connect to your tools. Let's try ingesting stuff, and we can start with just like enrichment. Just we're going to give advice on the current alerts, and we'll make sure that when you get your case or when you get your alert, next to it, you would get like what the AI analyst from Intezer would recommend doing with this. Like what would be the verdict? What would be the level of risk? What would be the recommended next steps to take, and so on. And you can see behind it like everything. Once you get to a point where you feel confident with that, you can start taking action automatically and say, okay, I trust like when they want to automatically resolve these cases, okay, let's automatically resolve them. Then you start to apply automation into that. And then when you get comfortable with that, you start saying, okay, now I'm going to take action and starting responding automatically. But the first step is to review the results and like get familiar with it and build some sort of trust with the system. I think like this is like the first stage. Like it doesn't affect anything on your environment. It doesn't change anything on your environment. We're not taking any action. You just see the results and you can compare it with what you would do in that stage. So for me, like this is the first step. Like just get
If
this
you
understanding.
aren't taking notes, please take some notes because Roy just dropped a gem. It's called doing a proof of concept. Doing an experiment, validating it, and then seeing where it fits into your process. I think that's the best way to start any project, especially when it comes to AI, when the technology is so new. Through all this and looking at Intezer, for anyone that wants to check it out, I think the keyword is autonomous. It's an autonomous SOC operation platform. And when I think about the word autonomy, I think freedom. That's what a product and platform like this do. I think it's incredible what you all are doing, Roy. I'm rooting for you and the team. I want to see y'all win. For anyone that hasn't done so already, be sure to connect with Roy, connect with Intezer, learn more about both of them. They are in the show notes description, wherever you're listening or watching this. Roy, I wanted to say thank you again, and thank you to your team for spending some time with us. And with that, we will see everyone next time.